Greetings, friends. Welcome back to another Discover at Home. These are the short educational nature videos that we are doing for you every Tuesday and Thursday during this time of closure right here on Facebook and new YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, do make sure that you pop over to Facebook. Check us out on Facebook. If you're watching this on Facebook, make sure you pop over and check us out on YouTube as well. We're doing all sorts of cool stuff during these closures on all sorts of different social media, so we want you to be following us on all of them. Instagram, too, has some neat stuff on it. I'm Emily Heald. I'm the Water Program Coordinator for the Discovery Center, and as you can tell, I am outside. Maybe you can tell what we're going to be talking about today. Before we go too into today's subject, first I want to tell you a little something. I work at a really neat place. It's called the Discovery Center, and we are an environmental nonprofit. We do all sorts of fun things. We do all sorts of programs for all ages. We even have a water program that I take care of that does a lot of neat things. But because we're kind of limited on time with these shorter videos, what I'm going to need for you to do is check out discoverycenter.net, and you will get all of the information on our background, all the different things we can do, all of our upcoming programs, updates about closures, things like that. So make sure you head over discoverycenter.net. So today we are out at the beautiful, stunning, impeccable Bog Boardwalk here at the Discovery Center. Make sure that you check it out sometime on a hike. Our trails are still open. It's beautiful here. It's phenomenal. And it lends itself especially well to our discussion topic today, bogs. Okay, so bogs are a type of wetland that accumulates dead plant material. We're not going to go too deep into the definition of bogs and the different types of wetlands. Just know we're out here at a bog, and I'm going to tell you some really neat stuff today. So stay tuned, keep watching, and let's get into this. So the first question you might be asking yourself is, how did this bog even get here? So the way bogs form is that a lake will slowly fill in over hundreds of years with plant debris. So what will happen over many years is that the plants along the edge and then kind of transitioning into the lake, all of those plants will begin to die and fall into the lake. Remember, we're talking many, many years now, right? This isn't going to happen to your lake over the summer. So that dead plant material will continue to die and build up in the lake sediment here so that your lake is pretty much slowly filling in here, okay? So over hundreds of years, the lake, it gets filled in, and what you're left with is a bog, and that partially decayed plant matter is called peat. So that is really the foundation of the bog. But for now, right here, notice how wet of a place this bog is, okay? There's water all around me, and bogs are very important for water storage, and what makes them really great at that is the growth of sphagnum moss within the bog. So if I bring this here, you can see all this light green. This is called sphagnum moss. This is the star of the show today. So sphagnum moss is very interesting because it has these large empty cells within itself that hold on to water. That's their only purpose, those empty cells, is to hold on to water. And sphagnum moss can actually hold about 20 times its own weight in water. So if you check this out, did you see all that water dripping from it? Okay. That's just a little bit of moss, and it's holding a ton of water. And that's actually really important. So remember, we talked about how bogs are really important storage locations for water. Bogs and wetlands are actually some of our best ways to reduce runoff energy during times of major precipitation events or flooding. So instead of all that water from those precipitation events running off, destroying roads, flooding your homes, things like that, causing a lot of damage, it can be stored here in the bog with the sphagnum moss, so then it can slowly percolate down into the groundwater rather than running off somewhere and causing damage. So very, very important for water location and flood damage prevention. So that saturation of moss with the water is actually preventing a lot of air passage within the bog. And so actually just below a couple inches here would be completely devoid of oxygen beneath the sphagnum moss. That's called being anoxic, when you don't have any oxygen. And with that low oxygen, the colder temps that you often see in bogs, it makes decomposition of dead organisms very slow. And that's what helps the peat form, okay? It's that really acidic, slow decaying area that lends itself very well to the formation of peat. So again, with that slow decomposition of dead stuff, bogs are very acidic. And I have a couple different water samples here, so we're going to test the acidity of bog water and compare it to sink water, just drinking water, well water, and we can compare the pH of these things. So, all right, so what we're going to do for the science in the bog is we're going to test the pH. And luckily we have these fancy little Lamont, they're called pH testing kits that we use when we bring school groups out here. They're super handy. And all we're going to do is I have a little vial of bog water here. I'm going to add 10 drops of this reagent mix, and then we're going to mix that within the bog water. And then we have this handy little, I'm not sure if you can see the coloring differentials on here, is you just put the tube of water with your reagent in here and you match the colors to the color on here, and that will tell you the pH. So let's do that. Normally when we have kids groups here with us, we ask them to count along as we put the drops into the vial, and they love it. They love counting along for pH. And so if you are a young person watching, or maybe you're just young at heart, let's count along. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So let's swirl that around and see what we get. All right, I hope that you can see this a little bit. So here's the vial that we have going in right here. And you can see there are different numbers by different colors here. So looking at this guy, if you can tell what this lines up with the best, I see that we're getting a pH of about between 5 and 5.5. So the pH scale, this is a scale where lower numbers mean more acidic. So about 7 is what we consider neutral. And so having a pH of 5, that's definitely acidic. So let's compare to sink water. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hooey! You can already tell that she's turning a different color than the first one there. We're looking a little green here. Last one was kind of orange. Okay, so I'm going to put the top on there, shake her up, and let's compare. Look at this. Already you can tell the difference between these two. See this one, how it's kind of green? This is our well water. See how orange that one is? All right, so let's put them in here. Let us compare. All right. Let's see. Okay, so that green color, so this pH test that we have here is monitoring, it stops at 6.5, so it's really measuring more in line with the acidic end of the pH spectrum. But so that green, it is definitely edging toward that 6, probably 7 location. So you can see that just like it should be, that well water is a neutral pH. That's why it's okay that we drink it. Whereas the bog water is more acidic. Okay. So bogs are really important places. Remember we said they're very wet places. I'm standing in it now. You can see it's a very wet place. And so with that water, it's important for things like frogs, dragonflies, other insects and animals that require water for their life cycle, which is all of them. We all like water, right? Okay, so birds visit bogs to nest. They eat here, they get water here. Even different mammals come here for the resources, okay? So we are teeming with life out here. Let's see what we can find. All right, so the first neat little plant that I want to tell you about is called leatherleaf. That's what we have right here. And kind of just like the name will insinuate, the leaves, if you take one in your hand and kind of just rub it between your fingers here, they are really leathery, especially when there's new growth on them. This is still last year's growth that we're seeing a lot out here. But they do really retain that leathery texture. So that's a really good way to first start identifying them. And you can see when you move aside and look at the base here, that this leather leaf is kind of acting as the scaffolding for the sphagnum to grow on and expand the bog. So it's important in that way. It's also, you can see it's just starting, let's find a good one here. It's just starting to flower for the spring. It gets these really pretty, is that blurry? Beautiful bell-shaped flowers on it that smell very nice. They're great for, you know, things will come and pollinate them. Animals, birds, marsh birds will come and nest within this. And so leatherleaf, you can see it's all over the place. And it is one of our very prolific and important bog plants. Okay? So if you find a plant that looks like rosemary, that's going to give you an indication that it's one of two things. It's either bog laurel or it is bog rosemary. So what you're going to look for to distinguish the difference between bog laurel and bog rosemary, well, first of all, if it's flowering, the flowers look very different, but sometimes it can be hard to time things like that, right? So what you're going to do is look and see if the leaves are opposite, meaning they're directly across from each other, or are they alternating leaves, which means exactly what it sounds like. There's one on one side, you go up, there's a leaf on the other side, you go up, there's a leaf on the opposite side, or alternating side, I should say. And that's how you tell the difference between bog laurel and bog rosemary. Now, people have different ways to remember this. I have a really weird way to remember it. When I was in college and I learned these, someone that was in my plant identification class said they had a roommate whose name was Laurel, and she was the exact opposite of herself. And so she knew that bog laurel had opposite leaves. You do whatever trick that you have to do to remember those things. So bog laurel has opposite leaves, bog rosemary has alternating leaves. Looking at this guy right now, we are having alternate leaves. So this is what? Bog rosemary. Simple as that. But right here, I hope you can see that, we have last year's growth of cranberry. That's wild cranberry. So just like what you think of is farmed in this region, that we have a lot of cranberry farms around here, well, cranberries grow wild too, and the bog is the place to find them. So here's a little bit of cranberry, and those will produce fruit. You know, they produce cranberries. You can eat them, rather sour, and so I'll leave that up to you. Just want to say, if you don't know what a berry is, you probably shouldn't be eating it. So, all right, let's go walk around and see what else we can find here. Let's see. Let's look around. Oh, Petey, what are you doing here, buddy?
Well, I come and hang out in the bog all the time. It's a really nice space to hang out. There's a lot of nice plants, and there's a lot of fun dead stuff to eat in here too. You know me, I'm a decomposter. I like eating dead stuff and helping recycle, so I'm just doing my part here eating dead stuff.
Oh, all right there, Petey. Well, sorry to creep up on you like this. Have a good day, and we're just going to go look for some other cool bog plants here, so we'll see you later.
All right, have fun. Wow, you really talked for a long time out in the bog today, didn't you?
I know I did. I just kept seeing really interesting things, and I was getting really excited about everything.
Well, you talk so much that now we gotta split this video into 2 parts, so I hope everyone stays tuned and checks us out on Thursday, where they can see all kinds of more bog plants and life, and we can talk about bogs some more. So see you Thursday.